And today we are talking about a very interesting and exciting topic, content marketing in B2B.
Content is fundamental part of the marketing.
Buyer's journey first with our personas. What are they doing? Where are they looking for stuff? What information do they need?
One of the more successful ones we ever ran was product launch webinars.
Everything that's created in a local net, which has always performed better.
I think that's the biggest fear, is that we're all going to be replaced. Let's be real, like AI is not ready to replace any human jobs yet.
I'm a big fan of 80% is good enough, to get it out there, and then you continually optimize.
Hi, everybody. This is the B2B Marketing Leaders podcast. And today we are talking about a very interesting and exciting topic, content marketing in B2B. It's very useful, valuable, and important for the audience to get some really expert content from the company and start trusting B2B companies. So, and we have really amazing speakers with us today, and I would like to ask everyone to introduce yourself. So let's start with Ryan, then Irina, then Rachel. Please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about your experience, and we'll start with the questions.
Awesome. So thanks again, Olga, for the invite. I'm Ryan Lucas. I am the Senior Marketing and Communications Manager at a company called FLSmidth. We're a global mining equipment, service, and parts supplier. So basically, we provide the ability to get stuff out of the ground and get all the cool stuff out to be able to apply to our products and such. And I've been in the B2B marketing space for a little over 7 years now. And thanks again for having us.
Thank you. That's impressive. Thank you so much. Yeah. Irina, please.
Hi, my name is Irina Chernova. I'm EMEA Targeted Demand Manager at NetApp. So my experience in B2B marketing is, I think that's about 30 years already, give or take, including sales in B2B. So, and my experience covers all the aspects of marketing, started with field marketing and demand targeted demand marketing, account-based marketing, and channel, and also PR. So my experience is very wide. I'm a kind of, I think, that Highlander in this group. So, but I'm happy to be with you and to be with my colleagues to exchange the experience.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's impressive. Thank you. Rachel, please.
Yes, so grateful to hear from you today, Irina and Ryan. Thanks for having us, Olga. I am Rachel Roundy. I was most recently at Intel. I am currently loading my next experience, have some exciting things in the cooker. But my background is in marketing. I've had 15 years of marketing experience, started in B2C and then pivoted to B2B about 8 years ago, and came in as a content marketer originally in my B2B experience. I'm very passionate about the topic today, so excited to dig in.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, content marketing, I think it's your topic. It would be great to learn more about your insights. So the first question, what role does content marketing play in your company? Who would like to start on this one? Maybe Rachel, you're
like I'm biased because I think in my marketing heart, I will always be a content marketer. But I really think that content is if marketing is an engine, content is the fuel, right? Like it's really what powers every other experience, every other channel. And like fuel, the quality of it really matters. If you're using poor quality fuel, like a bunch of AI generated stuff, which I'm pro AI, but if you're not really intentional about the content you're creating, you're going to clog up the system, right? And you're going to have poor results. So there's really a lot of magic in making sure you're using like premium grade stuff in those pipes, right? That's how I see content kind of fitting in. It's all of marketing in a way.
Yeah, the fuel, the most important part.
And I think I will support Rachel here as a marketing generalist, because for me, everything, any communication, anything like from the keynote of the leader till the, I would say, PDF or something. So whatever form it is, content is fundamental part of the marketing. And of course, so technically, content is anything that can help us to lead the customer through their buying journey. So anything might be, and this is fundamental. This is basic part of the marketing, and of course, the rest is engines and channels.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in lastly that I can't echo enough what Rachel and Irina had said there. And to me, maybe the only thing I'll add in there is that, and I think to what Irina had just said about how it leads them through the entire journey where content, and when you think about content marketing, like, of course, you want to think about blogs, you want to think about webinars and all those things you see externally. But for us, a big part of what content marketing plays, or even content in general, is the sales side of things too. And being able to help enable sales to drive business growth. Like that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? Is that we want to be seen as not just a support to, brand awareness and things like that. Yeah, that's all fantastic. But what really gets the, attention from the colleagues and the salespeople is when you can actually contribute directly to the buying, turning from an opportunity to a conversion. So that's the only thing I'll add in there, that the end, that it is part of the, everywhere, I guess you could say, like Rachel said.
Like the storytelling from start to end, right? And then the ongoing, right? With maintaining those relationships. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like empower, like equipping the sales guys, helping the customer to see us, to consider our proposition and to make a decision and look good.
So you've mentioned a lot the goal of content marketing as sales support and helping sales to maybe drive deals. And what other goals do you have for your content marketing initiatives?
I mean, I can kind of kick this one off. Just our big thing around content marketing, like I said, is sales enablement. But a lot of the other side really is thought leadership. Like a lot of the kind of things we put out as blogs on high level topics, right? From improving our customers' operations to anywhere of little checklists that could come out and help them as well. So that's kind of, a nice balance and a mix, because it takes us naturally from awareness of, driving thoughts around a topic and being able to prove ourselves as a true leader in this space, to then ultimately us being able to deliver the the back end stuff, right? That can help the customer or our salespeople to help convert those customers then after the opportunities are coming in from, those awareness types of activities. So that's kind of, the main two goals that we kind of try to focus on is really awareness and then, that conversion. So that enablement.
I'll add to it. Oh, you go ahead, Irina. I'll go after you.
Okay, thank you. So I would add to Ryan that a big part of employee advocacy. So because everybody is in sales, including like we are a technical company, including our engineers, which is a big part of content marketing. And of course, we should enable our colleagues to do that. And of course, customer experience is a big part of content marketing. The references are important because thought leadership is important, but also it's very, I would say, critical not to just to tell the market what we think about ourselves, but also let our customers speak about us.
Absolutely. You're speaking my language, Irina. I think that was what I was going to add too, is really like it's what helps people get through their different stages of their buying journey. And we know the buying journey is not going to be linear, right? It's not like a funnel that people just like fall through or like a straight path. They're going to bebop everywhere. But our job as marketers and content marketers is to show up with the right message at the right time in the right channel. That could be at the high level awareness stage of like we're identifying that we have a goal or a problem that we need to solve. That could be mid funnel where we're kind of evaluating options, but then also like that continues through the sales enablement and then the life cycle maintenance of those relationships. So I think it again, like is all of marketing, right? It's that storytelling and how you're connecting the dots all the way through for your customers.
I like how Irina said there as well that, and I agree with both of what you're saying, Rachel and Irina, but definitely like everyone is a part of sales, right? Like anywhere from people that don't even really, actually interact with the customers directly, but they have an impact on the way the proposals look or the way the engineering documentation might be delivered. Well, so there's so many
Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, go ahead. I was just going to sum up and say, you never really think about maybe those types of things as being customer touch points along that journey. But like you said, Rachel, it's not like this, even when you look in the CRMs, it looks that way. Right. But when it comes to the true customer journey, it's like this and this and this, right? It's like a pinball machine.
It's a relationship and they go up and down and there's any relationships. Yeah.
And they're going to have upwards. I mean, there's so many studies about this. They're going to have upwards of 80 touch points with your brand and your content before they even talk to sales, right? So that is marketing. That is your content. That is the message that you're putting out there that's doing that heavy lifting you're welcome, sales. I'm kidding. I love my sales
Yeah.
teams, but like, like that is really like the magic of the content to get them ready to for that conversation.
Yeah, that's true. To warm up the audience before
Yeah.
the sales contact them. Yeah, that's amazing. And of course, content marketing doesn't go independently. It works together with some other marketing efforts. And what are the best combinations you use for example, together with content marketing? What is it? Is it ads or something else? So what do you think about it? What other marketing efforts help?
I personally see like content fitting in all of those things, right? Like content is all of those things. You're going to have the messaging and it's going to be atomized and optimized for whichever channel you're using it on, right? Like the copy and message on an ad is going to be different than something that's longer format, but I still see it as kind of the underlying connection. And I think it's interesting. Actually, a lot of content marketing roles are actually just like an integrated function, right? Where they're actually coordinating with all of these other channels and functions in a very cohesive way.
Yeah. Content is everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's for a marketer as more orchestration because, as we already said, that content is everywhere. Anything that, even like video or PDF document, analyst report or whatever, or even like again, so the keynote on the big event could be, or even the meeting is a kind of a like what people discuss on the meeting is the content. And of course, I think that packaging it and delivering through the right channel is important. And then I think in this sense, all the, I would say, channels and all that teams or whatever campaigns should be integrated. And of course, the thing with content is that it might be creative in the different places. We have like analyst relations and like we have our customer references and we have our content creation team, for example. I think that it's important to integrate and orchestrate this, I would say, content journey for the marketing channels.
Yeah.
It's one big orchestra, right? And maybe the thing that you're going to hear me kind of harp on a few different times here is definitely a combination that we've seen is not only just the campaign initiation, so through the different channels, like Rachel said, but then like Irina kind of said, right, the back end of the sales team actually applying. And so like where we've seen a lot of the success is from actually, coordinating from the marketing side and then getting the sales team on the same page as well. And I always use this silly example, but looking at like if you go to a customer or one of our salespeople goes to a customer site and the customer says to them, "Oh, I saw your LinkedIn post about X." And if the salesperson goes, "Well, I didn't see that. What was it about?" Then I think that's, a misalignment that needs to be fixed right away. Right. So definitely think about that combination of not only just the campaign itself, as in the marketing, external channels, ads, whatever it might be, but then making sure that you're aligned internally as well. So then everyone's singing the same song and dance. I like to use that a lot. And, I think that's a very US based thing to say. But I think it's very true where you all want to be orchestrating the same kind of, performance, basically.
For sure. And I think that happens like upstream, right? With your planning, like how are you coordinating with your sales leader, your products leaders to be super tight on what is your message at each of these stages. So we're all going to be aligned as we move forward and create assets and have conversations.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Olga, is it okay if I ask a question quick to the group?
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
I think it goes along with this topic, but Rachel and Irina, do you guys have any sort of like what I want to say, like planning documents that you use, particular any like frameworks that you use to kind of measure, like create the content marketing plan, or even when you're building these campaigns to align with sales and the messages? Because I totally agree what you just said, Rachel, that the messages, like for example on our end, anytime we're going to start a campaign, we do a call with the targeted region in our case, and we'll be like, "Hey, here's what we're going to do, here's the plan, here's the messaging." So then everybody's kind of saying the same thing. So I'm just curious, do you guys have like any sort of strategy that you usually take on?
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Irina, if you'd like.
Thank you, Rachel. So yes, we do, and it's kind of a cascading. It's a cascade from the strategic messaging, from the brands, and it cascades, and I would say goes to the different channels, to the different teams, like for sales team and technical team and channel team, like, and to the partners, because we are mostly channel driven company. And of course it changes. It's not the same, like I would say it's similar but not the same. It's integrated, it's very aligned, but it's always important to consider whom are you speaking. That's why, like, content for the tech guys talking to their peers within the customer might be a little bit different. And of course, it depends on the target audience. Yes, we have a big one, but we're also just cascading and I would say aligning and adopting it to the different target groups. And it, of course, it might different. It differs a lot.
Yeah. And for me, I get really nerdy. I'm kind of nerdy about math and equations. So like it really starts with like, I have like a whole slide in my head, but like it starts with like buyer's journey first with our personas. What are they doing? Where are they looking for stuff? What information do they need? Number one. Next is going to be customer insights to deepen that information. What are they looking for in these channels? What words are they using? That could be keyword research. That could be social listening, like analyst insights, anything we've got. And then we layer in, what are our business objectives? What do we want to help this audience solve? How are we going to make them the heroes of their organization, right? And that is the third step intentionally, because that's what makes your foundations very customer focused. You're saying, what are they trying to do? What are their goals? Then we're layering in, okay, how are we bringing something to the table for them? And then from there, just kind of depending on if this is an always on or a targeted moment, then you can layer in your timing, your channels, how you're going to optimize things. But yeah, I think, I actually have so many frameworks, Ryan, that I can share. But in my roles, I led the strategy for 11 markets, right? So it was like I had to build something that the markets could then take and use. So it has to be packaged up in a way that's like, these are the fundamentals, these are the topics, this is the cadence, this is how we're going to go about it on these different channels. Here's 80% of the way there. And then you can go ahead and personalize and market, because I'm sure, as you know, Irina, like you have to have that freedom at the edge to make it relevant to your audiences. But yeah, big fan of like intentional frameworks, and all of the inputs for that come from collaboration upstream with product and sales for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Olga.
No worries. Yeah, that's absolutely okay. That's an amazing question. Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for that. And I have quite a broad question about how do you measure content marketing efforts? So, of course, it depends on maybe the effort itself. So maybe some of them are connected to sales, some of them are more like brand related, like brand awareness related. But maybe you can also share some of your best practices of how you measure the effectiveness of content marketing. Would you like to start?
I can jump in. So for us, I think I like to break KPIs down into two buckets of like programmatic, high level, how are we moving the needle, and then tactical. So the programmatic KPIs would be like, how are we contributing to pipeline or revenue, right? Like what are the end results? Are we moving people through? Are we seeing the outcomes that we want to see as a marketing engine? But then tactical content measurement things are really where you can make the micro adjustments to see what's working and what's not. So, and that'll depend on which channel and what content format. It could be something like video views or scroll depth or things like that that are really informing, okay, this is resonating, this isn't, and how are we going to iterate in real time to optimize our performance.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
We're also using both, as Rachel mentioned, on programmatic level, we can see the overall performance of our campaigns and of the content, but also narrow it down, because now I'm looking for targeted demand, and targeted demand campaigns is mostly campaigns that when we are targeting like either our own database or our third-party suppliers database. Of course, we can see by the campaign how the specific content might perform. Like, for example, is PDF or something like a report, like analyst report, perform better than, for example, video recording. So which language works good for this, better for this specific audience as well. So yeah, it's on both levels.
It's really interesting to hear both of your perspectives and your experience, and especially like your roles in these companies. Because like to me, I'm a bit more of just like a special, a high level, manager in this case, right? Like I'm working with my stakeholders directly. So like I'm just chasing things like impressions, those kind of high level numbers to be able to report back to my stakeholders. Are we looking at those things?
Stuff. Yeah.
We are looking at those kind of things like scroll rate, what performs better, things like that. But to be honest, a lot of the feedback that I get outside of like the more tactical than numbers and things is qualitative feedback, right? Is asking, sales like, hey, is this asset that I created for you actually helping you out in the field, or do we have to adapt? And to be honest, that was one thing. So I just started at this company, FLSmidth, a little over 2 years ago. And when I came in, one of the things I was asking is, do we get this type of feedback? And the answer was yes, but the answer was kind of no. But now, as part of my continuous relationship with my stakeholders, it's like, hey, is this actually helping you, or is this just a waste of time? And I can tell you, we've gotten rid of a lot of wasted time assets just because they were fun to build. But
it's life.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I think you touched on something so profound there, like with marketing in general, right? A lot of it's going to be qualitative. We cannot quantify every single thing that marketing does.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that's intangible, and that qualitative piece is also extremely valuable. Like in your use case, you wouldn't know that through like some measurement in your, CRM or something. You need to actually just talk to people.
Right.
But I would just add that thanks to like expanding digital area, so we can track some content and we can track the performance even in the sales interactions. And as far as I remember, when I was doing account-based marketing, it was very good experience of tracking how that specific content influences the pipeline. Because when you work with specific big accounts, you can really see how there are specific documents, reports or customer stories or whatever can influence the certain opportunities. Yeah, so we can track that, and I think that we can track that in like individual level with some big accounts and also on a bigger scale. So we are getting there, but I also agree it's not always quantitative stuff. Yeah, we always need that. Still, we need to talk to the people, and sometimes still like a kind of a feedback. Like I would say, conversational feedback would give us more ideas how to like whether it's good or bad.
Well, and even maybe to that point, when you look at data, sometimes it doesn't tell the whole story, right?
Absolutely.
Like you can have a lot of impressions. You can have, I mean, it's funny to think about, but it's like those memes that you see on LinkedIn, right? It's like when your own company people like your own Facebook posts and they're giving each other a high five, right? Like
exactly.
I can go and report that we've generated, hey, we've increased this this web traffic by 10x. But when you look at it deeper, it's like, well, it's a lot of our people doing those types of things.
Yes.
So,
is it from your ideal customer profile, or is it because of something else? I think that's the problem with execs being like, make it viral. Like that's not actually always a good thing because you're not getting the eyeballs that you need on your content. It's often not your audience and it's not repeatable. You know what I mean? If it's not a part of like a sustained, repeatable program where you're like continuously bringing the right people to your content, it's like congratulations on like getting 2 million impressions on this one post that you did, but like what did that actually do in the long term? I think that's a battle I feel like I always have to fight, is like, what is the long-term impact? It's good to have those touch points, and yeah, like we'll take the 2 million, don't get me wrong, but how are we going to continue that? And did we attract the right people and did it move the needle?
Yeah. That's I always remind myself. So do not get overexcited with the numbers.
Yeah.
Like look deeper. Like
one-off ones anyway. Yeah, for sure.
It's also a rabbit hole you can go down very deep, right? Like Rachel, I'm a very big like numbers nerd as well. And like I like digging into it, but I'm like, all right, do I really want to take the next 2 hours to go down this rabbit hole?
Always, Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Can relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rachel, you mentioned make it viral. This always wish. So it's a pain, I think. marketers, not everyone wants to make it viral. Yeah, but it's more important to make it stable and
sustainable.
repeatable. So the next question is about some best practices of content marketing, maybe some examples that worked well for your company. Please share some real examples of what's worked great.
I think for us, like when I first got to Intel, I was really kind of leading this push to make everything customer first, right? Like our content used to be just opening with, this is why we're amazing, right? Like brand soup, acronyms everywhere. And it's just like, nobody wants to read that, right? And so it was this concerted effort to really be obsessive about how are we making our audience the hero of their organization? How are we showing up with stuff that's actionable and helpful for them and moving the needle for them? And therefore, like they're, increasing the likelihood that they're going to buy our products. And when we started doing that, just that simple flip of the script, we saw magic happen. Like we saw engagement on social, 200% up. We tripled our database size. We were able to just see these insane performance metrics. Our webinars had like 20% conversion rates, right? Like it was bananas just from being like, no, we're not just going to only open with why we're awesome. And I wouldn't say that that's like one specific thing. It really is a concerted effort across all of your content. How are you showing up in the language your customers need to hear, on the channels that they need to hear it on, consistently and like an always on kind of sustainable fashion. And we saw just, insane traction from that.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And Ryan, maybe continue.
Yeah, I looked at it in two ways when I was thinking about this question. And one example is definitely like webinars. I think webinars have worked quite well for us, and similar, like Rachel just said, right? It's not just, there was time and a place. Like actually one of the more successful ones we ever ran was product launch webinars, where customers in our space, and we've heard this feedback from them before, that like, hey, we're not always there looking around like on our own to see what you have available. So us putting that out there for them was very interesting. But we've also seen, success in sort of these challenge solving webinars and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But another one that I've definitely seen content related that has been successful is value calculators. We're definitely big into the space of value selling, which is a big time culture shift for us. Even here, we're still pretty immature in the sense of this area at the current company I'm at, and even in the previous company, we didn't dig into it too much. But that's definitely been a big time thing that has been, it's not one of those things that's external and it's fancy, but it's internal, and it helps our sales team to convert, opportunities into actual, are building value propositions to help convince the customer why this switch or why we're the optimal choice in this case, and how we can be a partner for them. So those are kind of some examples that popped in my head right away.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, it's very, very useful. And you always mentioned these relationships with sales, how you support sales. I think it's interesting, yeah, and valuable. Thank you. And Irina?
Yeah, I just would add up to Rachel and Ryan. So that as a marketer with my feet on the ground, I always been, I would say, big supporter of the local language, because
Yes.
we work for a multi-international company. I used to work for Russian CIS, and now I'm looking after Germany as a big area. And of course, local language is critical. And of course, for us, everything that's created in a local language has always performed better, and it's always more successful. And especially, like, for example, we found out, I wouldn't say recently, but once we found out that video content, like webinar recordings on the local language, perform just beautifully on the internal and external platforms. Which was a little bit of surprise, because PDF is easier to to download, and you just can read it very fast, like very quickly. And the other thing is persistence, because for example, campaigns are very good, but for example, the most successful content in the content that we're persistently delivering to the almost same audience.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of a long-lasting project.
Yeah.
So they see, very, very persistent and regular It's really, we are kind of building relationship with the customers, and they know where they should go to see, like, to get the information, to ask, like, or to maybe to request some more. So this is very important. And because what I see in the campaign, sometimes it looks like a one-time affair, but really, especially for some of the markets, like I'm speaking, for example, for the German market, like the most successful activities are those that are done on a regular basis, so that we have our audience and we grow in it.
I could not agree with you more, Irina. I think that always on muscle is critical. That's where you're building credibility. That's where you're continuing to build trust. Those are often organic channels, right? And I think of that almost as like, my team thought I was such a nerd for saying this, but it's like a layered cake. And each layer is a different channel in that always on, stack. And they're going to have different flavors and different ingredients because you're optimizing for each one of those channels. But I see campaign as like the frosting or the sprinkles even. Like, it's something on top. It is not like the majority of the structure is really coming from the always on motion. And with your point about localization, I can't emphasize that more. I think a lot of companies don't spend the money on that, or they just use AI, which AI can do an incredible job to a certain point, but there is magic in having a real human to localize, not just translate certain concepts. One thing that we were piloting was like a webinar in a box for our regions, where we like had all the messaging, all of the slides, all of the everything that we could, put most of the work in, hand that to the regions where they would find local subject matter experts to produce a webinar in their own language. And that was magical because it takes a lot of pressure off of those regional teams that don't have all the resources. But to your point, like a webinar that is in their own language, not just subtitles, there's real power in that. I think it was really cool to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, especially when you get down in South America, and Mexico has their own Spanish, Chile has their own Spanish, Peru has their own Spanish. So you're 100% on. That was a great point you brought up, Irina. Thank you for addressing that.
Yeah, adaptation. And I also loved the idea of consistency and discipline in content creation. Yeah, it's very important. And it's interesting to talk about the challenges you face in content marketing. Could you please share them with us?
I think everyone thinks that they're a content expert. Like if you're actually running content, and then you'll have like some rando come out of the way. You know what we need? What's like really going to move the needle is an infographic about this. And you're like, okay, so you're like constantly kind of dealing with what I call like those random acts of content and having to get really centered and like, this is the strategy and this is why we're showing up in this way. And that's not to say people don't have good ideas and it can't be incorporated into your plan. But I don't know about you two, but I feel like that was like an ongoing struggle of, people coming out of the woodworks with things that they're super jazzed about. And you're like, awesome. Like, how does this fit into the broader strategy?
Yeah, everyone is an expert, in content.
We say too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Because then when you have too many people there, then you never can have agreement, and that's it's tough to make everybody happy in those cases. Yeah, I would definitely echo what Rachel just said. That one of the biggest challenges we get sometimes is just having a final product, right? And that's when it comes to do you need perfection or do you need 80% of it done, right? And I'm a big fan of 80% is good enough, to get it out there, and then you continually optimize or build content afterwards to follow up on those things when we don't address certain points. So definitely one of the biggest challenge, is that fact of hey, sometimes you get too many voices in there.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I would also like working in a very big company, like multi-international company. For us, as a bigger one of the, as I see, the biggest challenge: do not reinvent the wheel, because it's so much of content is being created, and every time what I see, sometimes we need this campaign or that campaign for this country or for this region or whatever. Like we need to create like, Rachel, infographics and a new video. I said, stop.
Right.
What's probably something already exists.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not a big challenge. Like, of course, it can be created. How to use or how to create is a big challenge to find it, because it comes from the different sources, from the different teams. Of course, we have like customer references, we have event team, we have analyst relations, we have content team separate, and some other colleagues who already done it. So
And
I
they've
think
got
the
their stuff
major like
saved in different
navigating,
places.
navigating in this like ocean of the contact, because it's really it's too much being created, and sometimes really picking the right one and utilizing that could save you money and time and whatever, and you just can really adapt it. Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenge for me, I guess, because not even for me, but for the company, what I see within the businesses. So we try
Yeah.
to create something from the scratch. We don't.
Extremely relatable, having been another one of those massive companies, Arena. I think that's where like AI can be really helpful to some of the RAG models that can go and retrieve different types of content from a bunch of different sources, can be a game changer for that exact reason. Because it's like, oh, they've got sales enablement saved over here and other content saved over here. And then AR has their stuff. And it's a nightmare for the field to actually go and find what they need.
Yeah, it's a great idea for a startup, probably, to have this internal search of different assets. Yeah, makes sense. And talking about some other challenges, do you find some content formats ineffective in your experience?
For me, it's not about formats, it's about tone. Like, I think any format can be effective if you're telling a compelling story. So, like,
Yeah.
I think people get really stuck in their heads with their content strategy of thinking it as a checklist, that they have to have, you know, this white paper and this infographic and this blah, blah, blah. And that's not actually important at all. Are you telling the story in an interesting way? And is it resonating with people? Beyond that, you can play around with formats and what works better on different channels. But personally, I don't think there's anything as such thing as a bad format. It's just bad storytelling.
When you're trying to build something, most times, I mean, simplicity is best, but there are those conferences or those certain, personas on site that you're part of the buying cycle where they do need more technical details, right? So,
Yeah.
a white paper that's 10 pages long that outlines every single step that was taken is great for them. But then understanding, well, if I hand this to, another person on site that doesn't need all that information, it might just be one page, so you might just have to be simple. So
Yeah, it's also interesting in B2C companies, they always use UGC content. So some users, they create videos, so post or something else. Do you utilize something similar in B2B?
We were starting to pilot it with like customer stories. It was still very much supported by us. Customer stories, like case studies, especially as we were talking about like the AI PC, how are people using it in real time? So it was UGC by like real users, but also by some of our internal subject matter experts, kind of as an advocacy play.
Great, interesting example.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. From our end, we're very early on in the stages of using user-generated content. We have some people who have more influence, of course, than others in the industry. So we try to leverage them as, this influencer model. But anytime we get a lot of, I always ask, I'm always trying to get pictures, videos from, the customer sites in our case, when that we can use. The tough thing in our industry, and I'm sure maybe Irina and Rachel have faced this as well, is sometimes getting customer buy-in to be able to leverage,
1000%.
utilize their name or utilize certain pictures, videos, because it's one big secret, when it comes to what they're doing versus what the the customer down the road is doing. So I know that's one big challenge, but we try and we do what we can. If anything, we just use the anonymous route, which happens a lot. But yeah, so I'd say we do, but we try to do more. But it is what it is.
I would say not much so far, because I think that they're like Ryan, as Ryan said, it's more like our initiative. Yeah, we are like asking binding the customer to be to our reference customer. Of course, there is benefits for them as well, for most of them, and it's really mutually beneficial. But I would say, as for like user created content, it's not much, because the second big issue is confidentiality. Of course, because it's a big data center. It's not secure, secure to do a video. I think that we can consider as a customer created content the case when customer speaks on our events. Events, webinars. Yes, we consider the customer created content. And I think that it's in B2C, it's one of the most, I would say, powerful things, and I think that we widely use that. Yeah, yes, but I think that there also might be like partner created content, because for example, our resellers, our distributors, they are not our customers, but they are not us. There's something in the middle, and of course they are doing that. And in this case, yes, in this sense, yes, we are using a part of the customer and partner created content, but not widely, not much.
And content creation is a lot of work. And do you use it in-house, or you just delegate it to agencies or some other partners? How does it work for you?
I think it all depends on what we're trying to achieve. Of course, I don't know about Rachel and Irina, but in our company, we're a very lean marketing team. We're very small for such a huge company. If you look up at FLSmidth, so like we don't have in-house capabilities to do like 3D technical animations that are very well received by our salespeople and by our customers as well, because it helps give a story, or tell a story, like Rachel was saying before, that you can't see without being in a dangerous spot when it comes to being on these mine sites and stuff. Also copywriting. I think, even though AI is very, very helpful, I still believe that human element is always needed for AI, generated content, for them to go in there and take a look and give it that human feel, or again, adapt based on, like Irina was saying, right, regionalize it, stuff like that. So yeah, our team is definitely big into outsourcing as much as we can to different suppliers, depending on the need.
Okay.
I think that same here. We are pretty lean team. It's in a very big company, and of course, it's mostly third parties. And of course, some of the content is being created, like emails or something, is being created in house, and video content is being created in webinars, like with the help of our subject matter expert, is being created in house. Like I think it's both. The other thing with where the content should be created is credibility of the source. For example, you can create a content with ID, like industry experts like IDC, for example, or Gartner, or for example. This is the like the other perspective. It's the credibility of the source. That's why, for example, when it's always better than IDC speaks about us. Like with IDC, like shares this perspective and insights about our products and solutions, rather than this is, I think, that the other side of the content creation process.
Yeah, for us, we did, like, I've done both. I was a smaller company before Intel where I managed a team and we made everything ourselves. And at Intel, we had such scale that we had to use agencies for a lot of things. But that said, like, all of the inputs were from us. So it wasn't like they owned the strategy, they would own the outputs, right? And so I had different agencies that were good at different levels of the buyer's journey, different types of content, loved them all, miss working with a lot of them, honestly. And we got to do a lot of stuff with analysts as well. Like, that third-party credibility is massive. So we did a lot of work with analysts and big publishers as well. It just kind of depends. Just coming back to the buyer's journey, like, what does our audience need to hear where, and how can we serve that up? Is it in our voice or is it in an analyst's voice?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And Ryan mentioned AI. So if we are talking about content, I just can't ignore this topic of AI. Could you please share some use cases, how you use AI in content marketing and content creation?
I am such a nerd about this topic. So I think that, first of all, maybe a controversial statement, but I think copywriting is the least exciting use case for AI. Like, it is so boring. It's like buying a Ferrari because you like the cup holders. Like, AI was not meant for just like churning out copy assets, There's a lot of ways that I use it as a thinking partner, right? So like, we've used it. One example is we created custom GPTs of our main personas, loaded them up with all of our buyer's journey information, our product information, sales recordings, any analyst insights about our audiences, our own social listening, everything, intent, everything, layer it all into those custom GPTs and use that to react to content, to do A/B testing on headlines and things like that. Even for sales, to do, tests of conversations with certain personas. Another use case that we used for it was creating like a live library of modular content. So it's copy blocks that could be used to cobble together new assets, and essentially just in a PowerPoint deck, right? Of like, these are headlines at each stage of the buyer's journey. These are different like blurbs, all legally approved, all human written. But then how can we use AI to create an asset with that using those preset kind of like definitions? I think it is a force accelerant of a good human strategy and good human inputs. I don't like using it for copywriting personally, but I'll let everyone else answer.
And your scenarios, they just sound very time saving. Do they save a lot of time?
Massively. And money too on message testing, like that's not cheap to go pay third parties to do that. So if you can get it to a good point before you're engaging, an external organization to do message testing for you, saves a ton of time and money.
Yeah. Some AI focus groups, some companies use it, something similar, I think, to test some message.
Yeah.
I
would
go ahead.
Sorry.
You go.
Thank you, Ryan. I would say the simple we do use sometimes for copyright, especially when it comes to the emails, because it's short form. You can proofread it, and especially I mentioned localization. I work for the area. I'm not really fluent in German. What I can do, like of course, AI they help me to draft the email. Then they can proofread it and I can change it, and of course it's changed my time, and for example, and speeds up the process that we need really like very fast stuff, like follow-up emails for webinars. It's very simple stuff, very fast, but it should be done, because if I start with the copywriter, the other team, I will be waiting for them for ages. It's just very speeds up the like some routine campaigns, some routine stuff. And of course, like translation is not perfect. Rachel, absolutely right. It's far from perfect, but at least it's something to start with.
Yeah, all great examples there. And I mean, I will admit, I think there's so much more that I could be doing with AI, but some of the things that I'll add on there. One of my favorite things to do is actually do calls with my stakeholders when we're talking about campaign content, transcribe it, and then plug it into AI and let it generate me a blog or something like that from it, right? So being able to, instead of having to manually take notes like we used to have to do and write down ideas, using transcription, amazing, or recording videos for any other type of content, whatever it might be. I love having conversations about different topics that I am not an expert, where I can actually almost sound like an expert when I go and talk to my stakeholders. Like I'm the one that is able to propose things into them versus having to have a conversation with them. And I'm able to get the process started of, campaign content, whatever it is with them, because, and granted, you do learn a couple things along the way, but when you get into technical details, it's tough to keep up. But that's definitely something when it comes to brainstorming an idea generation. And I kind of even consider, like, I handle product launches, product and solution launches. So like, instead of having to sit there and come up with a million taglines on myself, or Irina or Rachel or Olga, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but when you go into thesaurus and you plug in, give me synonyms for this word, so I can sound smarter. No more, the days are over of that, right? Now I just...
When we are hiring content managers in our team, we even added the AI trap into our test task for them, test assignment for them.
Funny.
So, and this is how we can, for example, we can identify those who don't even edit or even check what they are writing. They just rely on the AI and just send.
I think, like, to your point, Ryan, there's a lot of ways that it can empower content creators or content strategists or teams. And like, you can build out like very distinctive brand voices and writing guidelines and stuff like that, all in AI, so that someone has a good running start, right? And then just adds that human polish. So it's not a bad thing to write copy with AI. It's just, I personally like to write my own and use it after, but there are so many use cases that are fantastic.
I was actually just talking to one of our copywriting partners not too long ago, and she basically was like, I feared AI, but then I kind of talked to her and was like, look, this is how I use it, and she was like, after you explained that to me, it makes my life so much easier. And I'm like, even as a copywriter, like you're not going to get replaced. I promise you.
No, it's just going to make your work make your life easier, right? It can accelerate things. Some of the smartest copywriters I know use AI extremely effectively, like people who used to be journalists at big publications, right? And they use AI all day, every day. So yeah, there's definitely, I think that's the biggest fear, is that we're all going to be replaced. Let's be real, like AI is not ready to replace any human jobs yet, right? But like it can definitely accelerate what you're bringing to the table. And if you're too afraid to like play around with it, then you run the risk of losing your job to someone who wasn't, right? So kind of gotta jump into it.
I would also say one thing that I really like about AI and like what I like using is when, you have ideas, and granted, before I used to write them down on a notepad, or, you'd leave a voice note, but now, if ideas come, instead of having to have everything fully thought out, you can talk to AI and talk through the ideas and get those additional brainstorms. So it's almost like you're having a partner to truly help you, enable you even further in this case. So, I like to, when I'm on like a walk or something, I might throw my headphones on if I have an idea and just, start talking. People think I'm crazy when I'm having these conversations. I'm like,
Ryan,
you're not right.
Yeah.
I was doing that yesterday, literally on a walk, because I'm doing a final presentation tomorrow, and I was just brain dumping into my voice notes, and then popped all of that into Notebook LM to get a layout for how I want to put my presentation together by like 1000%. Love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also do it all the time. So yeah, we support you. You're not weird.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next AI related question is AI search. Do you optimize your content for AI search? For example, when people ask some questions to AI and your company's information pops up first in these answers.
Yeah, it's a new space. Like it's evolving really quickly. I think nobody has really nailed exactly what is the secret sauce. But I will say, like from what I've been witnessing, just with peers, is that AI search results can be moved much faster than traditional SEO, right? Like you're looking at like sometimes a delta of a week, you can like rank higher, have more brand presence versus like the months that it would take in traditional SEO. And it seems to be just coming back to fundamentals of what we've been talking about this whole time. Are you answering questions that your buyers are looking for? Are you providing relevant information? That is what is ranking in these AI tools, right? And so you had for so long SEO teams that were kind of creating content just to drive traffic that wasn't necessarily for your audience, right? It's like, what is cybersecurity? Listen, your CISOs of the world are never going to look that up. Like you might be getting traffic to your website, but it's going to be from students or someone who's like learning this industry, right? It's not your target audience. And so I think it's kind of forcing folks in those functions to get out of that, just casting a wide net, spray and pray with keywords, things into really nitty gritty, like what does our customer need to solve for and how are we solving that? It's more about that really quality over quantity. That's what's going to rank in what I'm seeing.
Yeah, makes sense.
And AI moves so fast too, right? Like it's always developing. I mean, you see new updates from all these different companies. You see how many different companies popping up per week around this space. So I could definitely see how it could be very difficult. You almost have to hire someone to like, be in the ball game when it comes to AI search, because you're definitely right, Rachel. It seems like it's a lot different. It's not a lot. It's different than traditional SEO was. Like it's definitely adding a different element.
Thank you. And the final question of our podcast episode is about content marketing trends. Let's look at the future a little bit. Yeah. And what kind of content marketing trends do you see this year?
For me, I think it's like the ability to dynamically create assets on the fly, empowering teams to do that or set up workflows that do that within their existing tools. You spoke to this a lot, Irina, about like the need for an asset on the fly. The team's like, well, I don't know how to find this. Where does it exist, right? If you're doing an ABM program or, you need something localized, if you've got the right components and building blocks, then you can have something that is kind of modular that is going to generate a net new asset and create that personalized experience without a lot of human intervention. So I see that as like where people are going. It's going to be less about like polished PDFs and more about dynamic, quicker moving personalized content.
Amazing. Yeah.
I would add this is streamlining of the process. Like for example, I wouldn't say that people will be replaced by AI like tomorrow or the day after. So, but I would say that, for example, nowadays I can do with my hands more than I done before because of the tools. It's not because like I sit and doing something with my hands, but because I can do it faster. I have a special tools to do many things that required to engage the special teams before, like dedicated teams before. So I can do it myself, which is like, I think that makes many things easier and speeds up the processes and the whole campaigns. The only thing I would say that like a final thought, my major concern, do not lose the sense behind the technology. So because I'm I'm a mom of the young marketer. My son is his final year on sales and marketing, and he told like we didn't have much like theoretical stuff, and it's just too short or something like that. I said basically marketing is very simple. But of course, the number of tools and the model channels, they just exploding. But you always need to know the sense. Why are they doing that? For whom? Like whom you are targeted? Very simple, very basic stuff, and you can take it from there and use any like tools, including AI, to do your marketing job.
Yeah, logic and common sense. Yeah.
Yeah, logic and common sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that relates to my final thoughts is just, I think I definitely agree with everything Irina and Rachel said, especially the part around customization and almost like having a customized, journey. As AI gets better, right? Our websites are only going to get more AI driven where, if someone comes and we have them on our persona list and they want to see X, well, then they're going to see X instead of Y and all those kind of things. So definitely a lot of customization. But, one trend that I see that I really am taking to is humanizing things, right? Like being able to humanize the product, like especially in my area where it's big machines, very complicated. But, when you can think about it in a very simplified way and add a little bit of that human element, because at the end of the day, B2B is all about you're selling to people, right? You're not just selling to companies. So being able to always have that mindset, and make it funny, make it interesting, make it seem like it's, again, I like to kind of think like TikTok, right? You think about the trends on there, right? Like fall into it, don't lean against it. Just, go ahead and take that space.
And that's what's going to set teams apart that are actually connecting and resonating authentically from like teams that are just cranking out whatever without the strategy or the human element.
Right.
I agree with you, Ryan.
100%.
Yeah, and I like this final thought about humanizing content. Yeah, I think it's very important, especially in the era of AI. Yeah, thank you so much for your very valuable insights and your experience. This is important, and this is a treasure for B2B marketers. I think it's very practical, so they can implement it and use it in their own companies. So thank you for this knowledge you shared with us. So yeah, we are finishing the podcast. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.